Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. So I want to make a video explaining a bit about Monero and why it still exists to this day. If I just pull up the price action of Monero, you're probably going to be surprised why anyone would still be buying this coin if they were buying it purely as an investment, because as you can see, whether it's measured against US dollars, which is the teal line, it kind of didn't really make any new all-time highs. And if it's measured against Bitcoin, then as you can see, it's been in a long, steady decline. So I want to make this video explaining why people are still buying Monero and what use it has. I'm not going to go so much into the technical details as to, what Monero does in that sense and go into the technicalities of rigging signatures. I'm going to talk about it more from a business point of view. Now, one of the big things is when I'm looking at stocks or particularly cryptos, my goal is to subtract the amount of value that a cryptocurrency's market cap accrues purely from speculation and how much is actually accrued from a result of it actually producing real value. Like, what kind of utility does it do? How much money does the company make if it's company behind it? What does it really do, and why are people really buying and selling it beyond the price going up? So first, if you like these kinds of videos explaining different kinds of cryptocurrencies, explaining how to do debanking, cryptocurrency trading on peer-to-peer exchanges, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I've got lots of videos coming out every day about this kind of topic, and if you're interested, you can check out my referral links in the description down below to get on peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchanges that don't require KYC. I think this is the best way to acquire crypto in this day and age where most cryptos require KYC. So make sure to check that out. Now, to explain Monero, I want to quickly just maybe do a little recap of some other videos that I've talked about in the past. So I made some videos, one most recently about Litecoin, and I explained why that was still around for a long time. And the long and short of that is that, like Monero, the price of Litecoin hasn't been going through leaps and bounds. It went through a little hoorah in 2017, but it's been losing value against Bitcoin ever since that time. However, it hasn't completely disappeared and gone into irrelevancy like other altcoins have. And the reason why ultimately is because the reason why people still buy it isn't necessarily because they want to hodl it for the long term in order to moon their bags. The reason why they do it is because it's a very short-term thing. People will sell their Bitcoin on an exchange, buy a Litecoin, and then send the Litecoin to another exchange and then swap it back into Bitcoin in order to save money on Bitcoin fees. This is a really big reason why there's so much Litecoin volume in the first place, and it's one of the original use cases of Litecoin. Maybe back a long time ago, people were buying Litecoin as a valid Litecoin. It was just like some people used to call it, silver, and Bitcoin was gold. So people thought there was maybe just a bit more of a run that could have. But since that time, most people buy it for a very specific utility and they don't hold it for long. That's what I do. That's what a lot of people I know do. And that's why Litecoin exists. Now, Monero is an interesting thing because Monero is also a coin that most people don't hold purely for the sake of watching it moon, because again, if I look at the price chart again, most holders of Monero would be very disappointed if they were buying it as a long-term investment. If they wanted to make money, they could have just purchased Bitcoin and they would have been happy. So if someone is very aware about the fact that Monero isn't going up in price in the long term, why are people still buying it? Now, I want to look at the trade volume here. There's $100 million of Monero being bought and sold on centralized exchanges. That's what we know about, right? And the question is, what are they buying and selling it for? So they're not doing it because of they're hodling it and they believe in its future, although I do believe there are people that exist like that. And I know there are many people who are, I guess I consider them anarchist-minded libertarians or something like that, and they do believe that Monero is, better in terms of securing their privacy than Bitcoin. That is a small market of the overall Monero market share, in my opinion, because this is something that I can't be proved. But as someone that deals a lot in the peer-to-peer trading world, where I see various cryptocurrencies actually get used to its fullest utility, I see frankly that a lot of the trading volume for Monero is because of the black market. So let me give a little bit of an introduction of crypto and the black market. So most of the trading volume that happens in the black market happens in these what are called the darknet marketplaces. So on the dark web, accessed by the Tor browser, you can access these very anonymous and very hard to track down websites that allow people to essentially trade illegal goods and services. Now, the most notorious one that is no longer in existence anymore is Russ Albright's Silk Road, which has been shut down for quite some time. Now, originally Silk Road was using Bitcoin, but since Monero has come about, increasingly a lot of these trades started to happen in Monero, and Bitcoin is already very secure and anonymous. So the only reason why someone would decide to go as far as using Monero instead of Bitcoin is because they genuinely want to hide their activities, which is what's going to happen if you're selling drugs or doing all kinds of other shady stuff on the dark web. And although the Silk Road was shut down a while ago, you've got a number of different darknet marketplaces that have popped up in its place. The first one, you've got Hydra Marketplace, Mega Darknet Market, Black Sprot Market, and these ones keep popping up all the time. And the other thing I want to mention as well is these are just the ones that we know about, because there are so many that are beneath the surface and they're hidden, and many people would want to keep these things under wraps. So when there's an estimation about the activities going on in these darknet marketplaces, we've really got guesses, but these are all really great underestimations about the real volume of these darknet marketplaces. But I wanted to note that there was 3.1 billion in revenue on these darknet marketplaces in 2021, and supposedly it's going down. It's now down to around 1.5 billion in 2022. I don't know what it is now in 2024, but my guess is that the trading volume isn't down nearly as much as they think. What happens is maybe the people that are measuring these things, they'll go find a bunch of different darknet marketplaces to measure. Then those things eventually shut down, because these things have a pretty fast turnover cycle, because the feds are always onto them. So the people who make these darknet marketplaces, they shut one down, then they create a new one. They shut one down, they create a new one, and you'll never be able to get rid of this stuff. This is what black markets are impossible to eradicate. And these things are always popping up all the time, usually with newer and better security interfaces, and they're increasingly inaccessible to those that are unfamiliar with this kind of stuff. So the reality is, the darknet marketplace is huge, and most of it is increasingly in Monero. Now, of course, Bitcoin I think would be accepted, but you have to understand most of the stuff that is being sold on these darknet marketplaces are illegal goods and services, and so these people are more likely to be using Monero. Now, some people might actually still be willing to use Bitcoin and other things, because you'd be surprised, a lot of people are selling very normal things on darknet marketplaces. The point is, you can sell whatever you want. Most of these darknet marketplaces, like the Silk Road, weren't advertised as a place that you can buy and sell drugs, although that's what people knew them for. You could basically go there and just sell whatever you want. That was the idea behind the Silk Road, and of course, more and more people just started using it for illicit activities, right? So the point is, though, that increasingly over time, Monero is just the dominant cryptocurrency of this world, and in my opinion, increasingly more and more illegal activity is going to move online. I'm sure you're going to have, drug syndicates, gangs, whatever, increasingly move their funds, their real life funds, into cryptocurrency. That's just the smart and obvious thing to do. And a lot of their trading activity, if they can, will probably be over these darknet marketplaces, which is, it's very simple to be buying and selling drugs over these markets. And they're going to have to buy Monero in order to be able to do that. Now, it's not certain about whether the price of Monero is going to go up or down, but the point is that Monero has found like a very solid niche that will allow it to continue to survive as a coin and to have high levels of volume. And volume is actually like mainly it's pretty much the big thing that is going to solidify its place as a big coin. it really requires that people are regularly buying and selling it. And Monero, unlike many other coins, actually has a very serious utility, and the utility is, frankly, it's the dealing of black market. It's being the currency of the black market. Now, I don't want to get too lost in the reads here, but maybe I'll entertain you with a story that I have. So for those that don't know me, well, you probably don't, this is probably your first time watching this channel, I have another channel. It's called Davey G Does Chinese, right? So I'm really big in Chinese history. So I studied Mandarin for 12 years, and I studied Chinese history for for over 5 years, went to university there. I'm very, very deep in the world of China. And there's a very good book called The Bandits of the March. It's this old ancient classic, I don't know if you consider it 600 years old, ancient. But the story is, I guess it goes like, there's like 120 characters in this book. Like, it's a really long book, right? And all these characters in the book, they have a story about them. It's a little biopic, like each chapter is a new character, and it'll explain how that character went to this semi-mythical place called Liangshan Marsh. And Liangshan Marsh was this kind of place that was on the far reaches of the kingdom of China at that time. And it was a place where frequently the bandits would go because it was a place that the government couldn't come and catch them. And in each of these stories, you had a number of characters that were legitimately bad people. They'd robbed, they'd stolen, they'd murdered, they'd done worse. And that was basically, how they went to Liangshan Marsh. They have this Chengyu, which is this 4-character sayism. It means Bi Shang Liang Shan. So it's like, at the end of the story, it's like, this is how this character was forced to go to Liangshan Marsh and join the bandits there. But there were other characters who were actually good as well. There were some that were falsely persecuted. There was instances of misjustice where maybe they tried to do a good thing and ultimately they were punished for their good deeds, or maybe they were they were wrongly accused of a crime they didn't commit. And there were all kinds of various stories, and every character had like a vastly different story, and some of them deserved to be persecuted by the people of the time, to be chased down by the police or whatever, by the authorities, and go to the bandits of Liangshan Marsh, and other people didn't deserve it. But one of the overarching themes of this book was that, in a time of great chaos and corruption, which was the time that this book was set in, it was a time when the bureaucrats were very corrupt and they were cracking down on not just bad people but even good people. It ultimately forced good and bad people to be forced into the same area, Liangshan Marsh. And I've always used that as an allegory for just the way that the world will continue to go. If the world continues to go down a tyrannical direction and things become more authoritarian, even good people are going to be forced to almost live the life of a bandit in some sense. That might not mean they do bad things, but they might have to start adopting the principles of literal bad people in order to protect themselves, right? So tying this in with Monero at this stage is almost like the original internet, right? Like the internet of the 90s was just full of pornography and other smut, and over time it gradually grew to be used for other things, right? And another thing as well is Bitcoin has a very similar story, whereas prior to 2017, a lot of the Bitcoin trading volume was also used for darknet markets. It was used for people. It was facilitating online gambling, so a lot of people got into Bitcoin because they wanted to play online poker, and it was illegal in their country, but there was like some kind of Bitcoin poker place where they could play poker. So Bitcoin was served that demographic very strongly, and that's kind of where Monero is at right now. So a lot of the Monero volume is used for darknet marketplaces, but over time, as things become more extreme in the world, I'm sure you'll find that there's more people that will want to use Monero for honest and good purposes. They simply want to be left alone, and that's why I think there is a place for the anarcho-libertarian types who just, they're not bad people, they just ultimately want to be left alone. I think increasingly so this will be the market share of people who want to buy Monero, and eventually people will just be maybe if they want to, they can just buy and sell normal things on these darknet marketplaces, and I'll do so with Monero simply because they want to be left alone. So the point of what I'm saying is it's not certain that Monero is just principally going to be used for bad things forever. It's just simply a tool, and this is just how it's utilized for now. However, that tool can be used in a variety of different ways, and I think time will tell how Monero is going to be used, and I think it's going to be used for, you know, a lot of good things as well as a lot of bad things. It's ultimately a tool. It ultimately comes down to how you use it. And I want to give one final example to solidify my point. You can use Monero to go onto the darknet and buy drugs with it. However, you can buy all kinds of drugs with it. You can use it to buy heroin, or you can use it to buy insulin, right? So there's a number of people in America who spend, like, you know, up to $1,000 perhaps on insulin, right? And this is a terrible cost to them. And the truth is, there's a lot of countries in the world where insulin is basically dirt cheap. So supposedly, pharmaceutical companies are jacking up the price of insulin to a captive audience who can't really do much about it. But you would have people, and this is not something new, that you'd have people who would be buying these kinds of pharmaceuticals in drugstores in Canada and illegally shipping them over to America for profit, but ultimately providing people with cheap access to insulin, which is what they need to live. And this trade eventually has just gone over onto the darknet, where these same criminals, well, maybe, I mean, to be fair, I mean, maybe these people are also selling heroin. This is maybe their side business. Who knows what their deal is? Maybe they actually are saints. I don't know. But the point is, these people take their activities of selling cheap insulin on the darknet. People that can then go onto the darknet, use Monero to buy cheap insulin. And I mean, could that be thought of as a crime? I don't know. I mean, it's not up to me to decide. But the point is that long-term, Monero actually does have like a number of legitimate purposes, right? And yeah, so if we get to a point where things are just becoming more and more tyrannical, people will increasingly use Monero for not just bad things. But if I'm being completely honest, and I'm just very transparent, that's probably what a lot of Monero is. It's a lot of tax evasion, money laundering, buying drugs, who knows, even possibly like much darker things like human trafficking. I'm just being completely honest about the reality of Monero. It's got two faces to it. So yeah, so that's my analysis about Monero. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. And if you're interested in buying cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, or if you're interested in buying Monero without KYC, the only place you can do it via peer-to-peer trading is on Bitpapa and BitValve, I believe. I think they still have it on BitValve. But if you want to be sure, just go to Bitpapa. It's a place where if you're a buyer, you don't actually have to provide any KYC. And what's good is you're going to deal directly with a seller. You're not going to buy it from the exchange itself. You just use my referral link in the description down below. You sign up without KYC. You don't have to give any personal information whatsoever. You go to buy, you click Monero, and you select what currency you want to do it in. Let's just say it's US dollars. And then you can sort it out by the different payment methods. And if I just scroll down, you can see there's people that are selling Monero for other cryptos. If you want to do crypto to crypto transactions, you've got people that are selling Monero via, let's see, World Remit, TransferWise, MoneyGram, RIA. Now, of course, these are all like above market price because the people who are doing this, they're not saints. They're just doing it so they can make some money. So if you're not interested in buying, maybe you'll be interested in selling because it's also a good way of making money. So if you want to sell Monero without KYC, this is a website that you can do it on. And yeah, look at this. Like this guy's selling Monero via MoneyGram, and he's selling it for 10% above market rate. So if that's something you feel comfortable doing, then you can check that out. And yeah, so make sure to use my referral link in the description down below, and I'll see you next time.